All right, let's jump right into today's explainer. We're unpacking a massive viral phenomenon that promises a literally terrifying level of consistency. If you've ever struggled to stick to a routine, hey, you are absolutely not alone. But today we're looking at a source that claims to have the ultimate battle-tested antidote. We're talking about a concept so powerful, the original material actually warns that it might make people look at you with genuine fear. Yep, we are exploring the scariest level of discipline you've ever seen.
So, have you ever given up right around the third week? You know the drill. You start a new habit, maybe it's a fitness routine, a huge work project, or eating better. And for the first 2 weeks, man, you are just on fire. But then week 3 hits, and you inevitably lose steam. The source material brings up this universal frustration and asks a much deeper question. Why do a select few absolutely never falter, while the rest of us just smash right into that 3-week wall? Well, if you think you're the only one dealing with this, you definitely aren't. Check this out. Over 2.6 million views in just 7 months. That staggering number alone proves how desperately millions of us are searching for a real, lasting solution to this problem. It clearly struck a massive nerve, right? And it's because people are just exhausted by the endless cycle of starting and stopping. Which brings us to Section 1, the failure of motivation. Now, we've been taught our whole lives that the key to getting things done is simply to get motivated. But our source material makes a pretty radical claim right out of the gate. Your motivation isn't the answer. Actually, scratch that. It is your biggest enemy. Think about it for a second. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions are, by their very nature, fleeting. If you're relying on feeling like doing something to actually get it done, you're pretty much doomed the second you wake up tired or stressed out. So the text contrasts our modern obsession with willpower against something much older and much more structural, the Goji system. Let's move to Section 2, the ancient Gyoji system. So if motivation is the enemy, how on earth do we bypass our constantly shifting moods? Well, that's where the Gyoji system comes in. The crucial point here is that this framework relies entirely on structure, with zero reliance on fleeting feelings, to build an unbreakable routine. As the source defines it, this is an ancient method utilized by Zen monks to create a level of consistency so absolute, so intensely rigid, that outsiders will literally look at it and say it's not normal. It just bypasses motivation completely. And to be clear, this is not some trendy new productivity hack cooked up in Silicon Valley last year. No way. This is a profound 5-step system that Zen monks have been using for 800 years. Imagine that. 8 centuries of refining human focus and discipline. It's stuck around because it fundamentally understands human psychology and exactly how to short-circuit our natural urge to choose comfort over hard work. All right, Section 3, designing unbreakable consistency. The source really breaks down the nuts and bolts of this into interconnected techniques that are designed to basically eliminate failure. Because let's face it, it's one thing to say, hey, be more disciplined, but it's a whole other ballgame to engineer your daily life so that failure isn't even an option on the table. We're going to dive into these specific pillars: the non-negotiable schedule, the concept of no-gap practice, and the brilliantly named pre-solution method. As you'll see, each one builds right on top of the other to form an absolute fortress around your goals. The very first psychological shift the Goju system demands is structuring your life so that giving up actually hurts worse than doing the hard work. You have to stack the deck, arranging the stakes in your environment so taking the easy way out carries an immediate, painful consequence. It's kind of like giving a buddy $100 and telling them they can keep it if you skip your workout. When pushing forward is suddenly the path of least resistance compared to the pain of quitting, your consistency absolutely skyrockets. Next up, we have the non-negotiable schedule. Have you ever woken up and thought, should I go to the gym today, or maybe I'll just go tomorrow? That right there, that's mental negotiation, and it totally drains your energy. By stripping away the choice of whether or not to do your task today, you preserve all that precious mental bandwidth. A non-negotiable schedule means the decision was already made days or even weeks ago. You don't decide today, you just execute, period. Then we get to the concept of the no-gap practice. The true secret to mastery, according to the text, is seamless repetition, literally doing the exact same thing every single day without a single gap. Why? Because a gap gives your brain permission to be lazy. By eliminating the gaps, the routine starts to just perpetuate itself. It actually becomes harder not to do the habit than to just sit down and do it. It just becomes your baseline existence. Finally, we have the pre-solution method. This is where you get to outsmart your future self. Solving your excuses before they even happen is what ensures your consistency stays completely bulletproof. You already know you're going to be exhausted after work, right? So you pack your gym bag the night before. You know you'll crave junk food, so you throw it all in the trash on Sunday. You are literally pre-solving your future moments of weakness. Which brings us to section 4, Raphael's 90-day transformation. To prove this 800-year-old system actually holds up in our crazy modern world today, the source shares the very real story of a guy named Raphael. And Raphael's reality looked pretty much like most of ours. He was stuck in this vicious, incredibly frustrating cycle of trying and failing. 17 different times he tried to nail down his goals, and 17 times his motivation completely dried up and he quit. It's super disheartening, but it perfectly illustrates exactly why relying on sheer willpower is a total trap. But by tossing willpower out the window and instead applying the rigid principles of the Gaiji system, the non-negotiable schedule, the no-gap practice, and pre-solving his excuses, Raphael hit 90 days of perfect consistency. 90 days. According to the source, this didn't just help him check off a goal, it completely rewired his identity forever. He didn't just do the habit anymore, he literally became the kind of person who never misses. When your discipline starts to scare others, you'll know you're on the right track. That quote brilliantly sums up the ultimate warning and the ultimate promise of this whole framework. We're all so used to flakiness, excuses, and quitting that when people see someone operating with this machine-like, unbroken consistency, it feels completely alien. It's intimidating. But honestly, that intimidation is the ultimate proof that you've finally mastered your own mind.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. Now that you understand the sheer power and the mechanics of this ancient framework, what are you going to change? Which habit will you implement using the Goji system, and what will be your public statement of transformation? Take just one thing, make it non-negotiable, leave absolutely no gaps, and just watch how it transforms your reality. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.